Well, I guess we can get started. This is probably going to be the number of people. So last time I showed a study of using hyperslab selection and point selection. I haven't been able to, I was going to follow up with that, but I haven't had a chance since the last time I presented. So I don't have any new results and with those for those additional studies. But anybody have anything they want to discuss about HPC or I guess HDF5 in general? Um, we're still waiting for Aurora. I think they're finally getting it accepted and going to be opening it up probably next year. So we'll have more Deos results starting probably next year. Specifically, we're going to test the Deos fall and using MPIO Deos backend. Kind of compare the two, compare and contrast. It'll probably be the first study that we start doing.
I guess one thing to discuss would be how much have you put in CGNS related to like HPC, and will that be available in the next release, and when is the next release, I guess?
The next release of CGNS will be in December. We have the particles are now in, and they are of course parallel. I also added the multi-data set capability. So instead of doing like XYZ coordinates of and calling 3 times the API, that you can just do, you can register the X, Y, and Z components, and then it will just call the HDF5 once essentially, and then write all those all at one time. So we'll combine them using the multi-data set APIs. You can also do that for arrays and fields. So you can have as many arrays, but I think they all have to be the same type. It's not that restriction in the HDF5 multi-data set APIs. It's a restriction in CGNS to make it easier. Um, those are the only. Oh, and then we also added a new. People were having issues with calling the access POSIX command accessible from parallel because it had a race condition that some might see if a file is there and then see it's not, and then it will shut it down where the others didn't have a chance to create it. So we've eliminated that check in the next release. It's now at the HDF5 level, so it will warn at the HDF5 level whether that file is accessible instead of actually calling a POSIX call, which also helps for Deos because if you're using Deos, sometimes if you're not using the fuse, there might not be a file named that, so you can't really call a POSIX unless you have that turned on or allowed in your Deos file system. That they kind of have a placeholder for the files. In terms, I think that's the only new parallel features that have been added to CGNS. The only thing is, yeah, so we added the particles, CPEX, that's in there now, and we're just getting finalizing the final documentation for that feature. So it had its own documentation that we're updating the new documentation, and then as soon as that's done, we're going to do the next release. So we're not having any new features we're waiting on. The subfiling features will probably be, I haven't had a chance to really push that because there's a new API that we might need to have released in HDFI to make it easier to use. That's basically confuse the files back together to make a valid CGNS file without having to have the subfiling VFD be able to understand it. So that will not be probably pushed until we'll probably do another CGNS release later around the 2.0 HDF5 release. So it matches. We've also updated the CGNS so it can understand the 2.0 new versioning. Before it assumed it was always one, which I think probably a lot of packages are going to assume that it's always one when it checks the version. So that's been updated. So it shouldn't have an issue when that gets released, or if you want to check the current develop with CGNS. Yeah, so that's,
Okay.
there wasn't
You
any other parallel issue that you are thinking of, Greg, is there?
No, I think you also did some work on compression too, is that right? Or was that in a previous release?
It's in a branch. It's still not really going to be released because the chunk, I haven't had chance to go back and figure out the chunking issue. I mean, how to specify chunking from the user perspective.
Okay. I was hoping you solved that because I need to use that in NetCDF also. So, but
Oh, okay. And there's one other thing. I think Vicky mentioned at the meeting that she was going to give a patch that will allow you to not have to recompile HDF5, but read older versions of the file format. And I haven't heard back from her, so I'd like to get that in for the next release. But if it's not going to, if she can't get it to me within the next couple of weeks, then I'll just have to go ahead and release it. But that's I guess the only other one that we're really, but we can target the compression for the next release, which probably hopefully be in spring. So if we can probably target that compression and then subfiling, I think that'll be a good release in it.
yeah.
Mhm. So that's CDF also, it has compression. It can do compression, and then I've never used it in that CDF. Is it just the user has some kind of property that it passes to say chunk it in this manner? Is that how is done in that CDF?
Yeah. Yeah. You have to specify the chunks and I don't think it has very good defaults. I think so if you do it incorrectly, it basically is
The
very,
whole
very
bit.
slow because it's like reading everything back in and then compressing and writing it back out. But
Okay. I think that now the default in the first implementation was just the whole data set, which isn't ideal.
yeah, I think that's what they have.
Mhm.
I just joined and I heard CGNS fly by, but I thought I would mention that the work that you helped on with NVIDIA to be able to read CGNS with the USD, OpenUSD packages and everything.
Mhm.
It was very successful. There was, in fact, a demo at the NVIDIA booth at SC showing the fruits of that so they could live see FD sim I don't remember how many cell mesh, like a very large number. I want to say hundreds of millions to do airflow and whatnot over the car they had chosen. And we're pulling the data from a CGNS data set.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, it was.
Are you going to present, are you going to, is there like a paper or anything you're going to,
I'm
or write up
making it
somewhere?
public, but I will continue to figure out how to get a link for that. Right now,
Yeah,
it was like right at the limit of what we could get ready for supercomputing next week, and so more will be coming.
okay, yeah. It'd be great if we can, because we can write a little blog about it on the CGNS
Yeah, absolutely.
talk, and that'd be great.
Okay, super. I'll forward it to you whenever I figure it out.
Okay. There any other topics for discussion?
So, Quincy, I have a question. When you said OpenUSD, did you convert HDF5 to OpenUSD?
No, they have a mechanism for adding plugins to the OpenUSD framework, and I helped them. I only helped a little bit. Scott helped, and other people did most of the work. Add a CGNS plugin for the OpenUSD to basically be able to do volume data in OpenUSD.
So no conversion was involved, just
No,
read
yeah, read the natively.
Oh, wow, great.
It would be interesting now that we have point points ability in CGNS, whether that might be more useful for visualizing, but I don't know. Because I think point clouds is what it's commonly used. Is that what's
Yeah, they really want points.
Yeah.
Points for a stressful process. Well, even meshes, polygon.
You convert it basically to kind of point cloud, pseudo
Yeah.
point cloud. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It was very impressive though, because you could like live do things to the model of the car live or switch models, and you know it was pretty instantaneous the airflow that got generated over the models.
Hmm.
Put the spoiler on, windows, not windows, mirrors in and out, up and raise and lower the car. You know, real things that changed the airflow over the car.
In real time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else from supercomputing maybe that people want to? I didn't go. Anything that was
See, I guess
stood out?
who was there. Both was really good. We had 5 non development orgs, people talk, and digital twins and AI, supercomputing, very nicely represented. Really good participation this year. Was really a step up, I would say.
In terms of topics?
Topics, yeah, we still got about the same 50-ish people in the room, but we didn't go down, and maybe next year would be better because it was a higher quality too.
I see.
So Quincy, again, how much interest are there about GPU direct storage, HDF5 virtual file driver?
Lots. Yeah, I mean, there was a ton of questions at the end of my short segment because there were so many people talking. So I answered questions until Dana cut me off.
So is there going to be a universal solution? I mean, instead of like a tied for GPU direct, is there going to be like a standard developed so is that even possible?
Well, NVIDIA, well, yes and no. The capability that NVIDIA taps into is being upstreamed, or is mostly upstreamed already, really. Not from us, just other people did it, into the Linux kernel. So it should be possible in the future for anyone to be able to do host-directed PCIe device DMA transfers. There's some dense tech talk for you. So you could write your own coup file if you wanted, if that was appropriate. So I imagine that companies like AMD and Intel would maybe eventually, maybe never, but eventually could implement their own standards. The work I'm doing that will be designed to leverage both GPU direct storage and then GPU native transforms like compression, decompression, type conversion, all that good stuff. I'm designing those additions to HDF5 to be hardware agnostic with an NVIDIA plugin provided. It will be up to other people to step up to provide other plugins.
So it'd be a filter essentially for.
I can offload the filters onto the GPU and have it happen at memory bandwidth speed, basically like a mem copy.
Okay.
Then the reason why the reason for that is the new Blackwell chips have hardware decompression engines. I don't know. I talked to a billion other people at Supercomputing, but that was the obvious HDF5 buy-in. Everyone's very excited. Yeah. Also, multi-threading. Whoever gets it and gets it done first, me or Knifeboat, people are very much interested in getting that going. I'm probably going to get done first. See.
Yeah, at the beginning I said I don't have anything to present per se. So it's kind of like a discussion of HPC. So any other topics you want to bring up?
Haven't heard much about VOLs lately. Is that just because now the API is somewhat stabilized and that work's kind of going on quietly, or is there a lot of work in VOLs and related to HPC?
Yeah, in terms of rapids, we kind of are handling the async vol and the cache vol and the login vol. The audios vol, I think, it's there, but it's not as useful as the other vols, just because it's the concept of hyperslabs and stuff isn't really an audios feature, so that's harder to translate to use their vol within an HDF5 framework. But we did make some changes to the vols interface recently for the 2.0 release. So we've updated at least the vols that we're maintaining. The async vol, I think the rest vol is supposed to be, I don't know if that's been updated yet. And the cache vol has been updated in the log vol. So those have been updated for the next release.
Yeah, add to that, Søren and I have been kicking around some more additions that we'd like to see in the 2.0 release for the vol interface, so there might be some more. And on top of that, one of the things I spoke at the BOF was about a new sharded storage format, which I basically went in even more depth on at the user group meeting in August. So that info is already out there. But fundamentally, a much more cloud-friendly and parallel I/O friendly format than just the existing one giant POSIX file for those environments.
So sharded like the subfiling or?
Subfiling could be a category of it, yes, definitely. But beyond that, let's take some good ideas from Czar and subfiling and other places and really build something that's built for now and the future rather than based on POSIX files from 25 plus years ago.
So sharded with key values, essentially? Is that the idea?
I don't know if I want key values, but I want at least a memory database to shove the metadata in. And, therefore we can do really high performance metadata queries in addition to just lookups that we do today and not have to have all the overhead of the teeny tiny little IO operations that we have. We'll just pull one giant, not giant even, metadata small, one IO operation to pull the metadata into memory, use SQLite to look things up and update back to the file if we change anything. I think it'd be a huge win, and then takes, like I say, some of the ideas from Czar and subfiling and other places for the raw data set elements.
Mm-hmm.
But I gotta get it's in my queue, and hopefully I can also get some additional developers lined up soon within NVIDIA to help me, because it only takes so fast.
Yeah, Quincy, that part I was always curious. Those metadata, for example, key value, can it benefit from GPU memory?
No,
Like a similarity checking or
no,
no? Oh,
it's a bad match. No.
no. Oh, I see. But there are some inference engines going on in NVIDIA too, right? Some special hardware. So if you want to look at some,
Maybe.
yeah,
I don't
chunk,
think they're going to help in this storage scenario, though.
or even metadata lookups.
The GPU is not ideal for that. We want to do it to some extent on the host and not have it interfere with the GPU's execution of kernels and everything else. I could be wrong, but I'm 98% certain that's probably true.
Does this work it's on the table, or you're thinking it's
No, I mean, the manager of the team I'm on is queuing up work for me and trying to get more requisitions in to get some help. So I can't go any further than say I anticipate being working on all these things over the next year, possibly with help.
Mhm. Okay. There's not a 2.0 target, I assume.
Not some of those things, that's very true.
Mhm.
If we could sketch out the additions to the vol, it would be nice to get that nailed down before 2.0 goes out, but it might be after that, 3.0, obviously.
Okay. Yeah, they've all seemed like a moving target. The API.
Well, yeah, I'm glad we have it stable. Right now, everything works, does its job. It's very good for what it does now. There's just a few things that I'd like to be able to do better, particularly like queries, possibly indices, that are really next gen focused things. So maybe in 2.5 years, if we do a 3, we'll get all that folded in, but we're going to move along pretty quickly. So
Anything else?
not for me.
Okay, I guess we'll get
I
5
guess.
minutes. Oh, go ahead, Craig.
Oh, maybe a quick question. What's the recommended tool to use for profiling IO performance and problems? Is it Darshan? Is it Recorder? Is it Dristi or something like that? Or is there yet another one?
We've been using Darshan. It probably still seems a bit, I don't think recorders, I don't think it's in development anymore. So, I mean, it can't hurt to run it through because it gives other information in Darshan, but we've been using basically just Darshan
Okay, thanks.
with the DXT, yeah, extensions that Gianluca did. That's also useful. All right, I guess we'll call a little bit early and thanks for coming. And I think Dana, is it Dana?
Yeah. Yep, it'll be Dana. It's the first Tuesday of the month next time. So Dana will be our speaker. And yeah, thanks for all the questions and discussion topics, everyone.
Mhm.
Thank you, Scott.
All right, thanks.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.
Thanks.